Is everyone here, Mariana? The recording has just started.
Not yet.
A little thing, everybody whose camera is on will be seen in the video in a grid view. So if you don't want to be on the video, you have to put out your camera.
Yeah, and maybe it's better if everybody puts out their camera, right? Because it's a panel, so we can only see the panelists.
That's the reason why I'm okay.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you. I think everyone is here already. Let me check. Yes. So Rebecca had some technical issues, but she's going to be joining us in a few minutes. But I think we can start. She told me to start, and then she will join us. So welcome everybody to LTUX. This is gonna be the first panel from the two of them they're going to be hosting today. As you know, LTUX is an annual conference of ladies at UX. So every year, these months of the year, we're very excited to join you and to make this amazing event happen. So I'm very, very happy, very proud of it. Thanks Kimberly and team from Ladies at UX Utrecht that had done an amazing job hosting the LTUX 2021. As you know, today we're going to do this conversation about how diversity can contribute with not only like creating solutions, but also the way that we live, talking about obviously communities as we are as well. So I would like to also highlight some like inclusive experiences as well. I'm very happy to be the moderator of this conversation because this topic is very, very important. And also to have the company of these amazing leaders from other communities is going to be amazing. And I'm really excited to be here. Also, if you want to write it down where you're based, it's going to be amazing to see where in the world you are right now. Like, for example, I'm in Milan. Today is a little bit cold, but it's sunny anyway. Like the other past few days it was raining. So I'm Maria Nozaki. I'm EMEA Director of Ladies at UX and also one of the chapter leads of Ladies at UX Milan. And I would like to introduce myself, also describing myself for accessibility purposes. And then I would like to ask you, the panelists, to do the same afterwards, okay, when you introduce yourself. So I'm an Asian woman. I'm using a black dress with turtleneck and polka dots. I'm in my living room right now using some headphones, and my hair is medium length black hair. That's it. So first of all, I would like to talk a little bit more about the importance of belonging and diversity, which is the topic that we are going to discuss today. As I was looking for definitions, I found that some things that were fitting well in this definition. So diversity refers to I'm going to read some of them right now. Okay, if I look the other way. Diversity refers to the traits and characteristics that make people unique, while inclusion refers to the behaviors and social norms that ensure people feel welcome. In other words, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance, and equality is being on the party planning committee. So feel free to join our conversation. I will be looking at the chat for questions if you have any questions. And then we're going to start. So I would like to introduce our amazing panelists that are here today. Andre and Kelly they are Los Angeles chapter leaders of Hexagon UX. Rebecca Brooker that is going to be joining us today. I don't see her yet, but she's going to join us. Teresa Lux, our Global Director of Ladies at UX. And Maaike, founder of Women in Conversation, former Dutch chapter lead of Women in Voice. So it's a pleasure to meet you all finally and to start this conversation. So I would like to ask you to introduce yourselves and what would you like for people to know about you? Who goes first? Teresa.
Hi there. Thank you. Thank you for that. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really glad to be here with you. My name is Teresa LTUX. I'm Global Director for LTUX. I'm a Caucasian woman, black hair tied back. I'm wearing a blue shirt and a pink headphones. Behind me, you can see some pictures from Norma Nielsen Group and some flags about feminist diversity and BLM. Well, I'm design lead at Ambev Tech, a great beer and technology company, professor of UX and information architecture, and interface design at FIAP, MBA course. And I live in São Paulo, Brazil, with my husband and my 3 dogs. They also have the names of food, risotto, cannoli, and truffle. And I've been working for recent years to support women in UX and technology in everything I can. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. Audrey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here, too. I'm Audrey. I'm a product designer at NeoGov, where I design HR software systems. Along with Kelly, I'm the chapter lead of Hexagon UX, which is a nonprofit aimed to empower women and non-binary folks in UX through community events and mentorship. I became a plant lady, as you can see, during quarantine. When I'm not designing, I love rock climbing, being outdoors, and practicing yoga. Thanks.
Kelly, do you like to talk?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly. Along with Andrea, I'm like also the co-lead for the Hexagon UX. And at the same time, I have a full-time job as a product design lead at a company called Promenade. And I'm basically building the SaaS product for local small business. And I'm an Asian woman and have a short hair, wear the turtleneck like t-shirt as Mariana, very similar. And I'm in my living like the office now. My background is full of my books. And I think that's all. Very excited to be here. Like, would love to talk more in detail about like diversity.
Thank you. Maaike, it's your turn.
Thank you, Mariana. I'm Maaike Groenewere. I'm a white woman, and like I think everybody, I'm also wearing a black sweater with a turtleneck. Wearing glasses. My hair is kind of unruly today, so I kind of put something in to keep it all back and in place. I'm in my study currently, and you can see a frame drum because I love music, I love singing, and I love language. And that's because I'm also a freelance linguist and conversation designer. So I do conversational UX. I design the dialogues for smart speakers and chatbots, and also the AI that goes under the hood. So the natural language processing and make sure that it all kind of works. I am the founder of Women in Conversational. And even though our name is still English, we're actually a hyper-local community for Dutch women that work in conversational AI. And we've only been there for 3 weeks because before that we were the Dutch chapter of Women in Voice. And our journey from that very global movement to this very local movement is also something that I would like to share with you because it was a very conscious choice. Other than that, I live in Hilversum with my husband and 1 cat. And that's about it, I guess.
Thank you very much. So let's start our conversation. I would like to know what diversity is for you. Who wants to start?
I guess I can have a try. I must say I'm quite nervous, so the sooner I can say
Don't be.
Because for me, diversity is also very much about language. And I find myself speaking a lot of English in all these meetings. And even though it's not that bad, my English, it's not my native language. So it's, especially in the industry where I work with smart speakers, diversity is very much a thing because unless you're a white American male, the chances that your smart speaker will not recognize you are actually quite high. And this is something that kind of hit me when I move in the global, communities. People are actually quite surprised that Alexa doesn't speak Dutch, and that she doesn't speak very many other languages. And we've got around 6,000 languages in our world. So making sure that technology is accessible for everybody who speaks a language is very important, especially with voice, because, well, you've got this kind of little hockey puck, and unless contrary to websites where the interaction model is still kind of recognizable, even though the language may be strange or unfamiliar, you know that you can click a button. But here, if you don't know how to talk to it, you're out. So voice is actually quite exclusive if we don't take care. Done.
Sure.
Something?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to agree with her, because language is a barrier that most of us that don't speak English from native tones, it's difficult to feel inclusive. But for diversity means a wide range of opinions, experience, and points of view. Understand that it's impossible to put ourselves in other people's shoes in every possible context. Diversity allows us to bring this context together to multiple feet and multiple shoes. I mean, we can join people with different contexts and understand what they are feeling to create better products and better realities.
Yeah, I just want to show my empathy with the language, because myself is born and raised in China, and I moved US like 10 years ago. So while I'm working, like English is not my first language, and I do feel like sometimes have the stress, like all these kind of things, like they're coming from my workplace. But myself, like after I moved to Los Angeles, LA in general is a big community full of different people. So now my workspace have a lot more different people from different area, and also we become so hybrid. So that brings me a lot of comfort. Like even though your language, like your English is not perfect, when you can express yourself in the right way, like you are acceptable. It's not a thing to be judged. And I think that's a really good. And for the language wise, I think that's super helpful. I still have the frustration to talking with the Google at my home. Sometimes I told them download something and it doesn't work anytime.
There you go. Yeah. Welcome to the club.
I would love to do the user testing though.
Yeah, I would just like to add, so I'm Filipino, but I actually grew up in Japan on an American base. So I always struggled with like my identity and connecting with my roots. But I was surrounded by a lot of people from different backgrounds, points of views, and it really helped me become more open-minded and curious. And I think by surrounding myself with like,
Italian and Portuguese are similar. Everyone says like, oh, but it's similar. It's not. Like there are some words that we can understand, but also like the pronunciation and everything. So for me in the beginning, like working, because like in my past job experience, I was working this directly some words from Portuguese to Italian, but sometimes doesn't make any sense at all. But I would have fun with that. For me, it was fun. It was funny. Like I really tried not to push myself too much in this sense, because otherwise it's gonna be like maybe harsh too much on me. But anyway, I can completely relate to the language, because also like in my daily activities at the company that I'm working now, I share like part of my calls are in Italian, part of them are in English. So like my brain is completely like split into 3 different personalities, because like obviously talking in my native language, I'm one person, and then talking in English is another person, and Italian is another person. It's like very interesting to know these nuances, and I'm really glad that you also understand me as well. Why do you think it's important, like diversity is important now? It always has been, but
I believe that diversity has always been important, like I said, but we live in a culture whose principles was to exclude people with different characteristics. I think this problem became more visible from the moment people realized that in one way or another, they also had some kind of characteristics that made them a minority. Well, you can see nobody's perfect, like magazines and movies would like us to believe, then I think someday some people that came to recognize themselves like, I need to talk about this, talk about how people see me. And living with a character that makes society exclude you is suffocating. So in the business, UX, and technology areas, diversity allows us to have a greater reach in our products. But I would say that from the point of view of product justice, for example, having diversity team is essential to achieve the goals and making a product really relevant to people, for example.
That's such a great point, Teresa. And like you say, it's always been important. But I also think that with nowadays rise of technology and technological developments that involve a lot of data, diversity becomes more and more important also in making sure that the technology as a whole, as it becomes more data-driven, still remains open and diverse and free of bias. And one of the important ways to make sure that it does is to make sure that as large diversity of people actually work on that. And at the same time, we need that diversity also to make sure that we keep that technology kind of reined in, because we're at a point also in like society development, or I don't know how to call it in English, but hey, I think you'll forgive me. We're at a point where some things that we actually do to our ecosystem, our humanity, our people around us, might be kind of become irrevocable if we're not careful. And I think we need as diverse a group of people to actually come together and solve these challenges. And I think we can, for sure.
Yeah, I'm related to what you said a lot. Are you finished? I'm not. I don't want to like interrupt. Yeah. So, so I read like the book recently. Like there's there's a saying is very like related for me. Like this person said like the designers are creating culture, and I feel it's for new designers, especially these days. There's a lot of new designers into this field. We should be more how to say, be more provocative to saying this diversity topic, to bring those to them, because we are like the creating the culture. And for example, my company, we are doing the SaaS product for local small business, and a lot of local small business don't have a website before. They never received online orders before. So they are 50, 60 years old. This is the first time like they really apply technology on the business. And it's very important, like as a designer, like we have that mindset. Maybe someone is colorblind, someone can now see like the small font, all these kind of thing. Is like need to educate, and not only with a designer, but also as a designer, you need to educate your coworkers, your leadership, like bring those like the awareness to them.
Yeah,
that's a really good point, Kelly, about design can create culture, because it has so much influence at a larger scale of influencing like people's behavior. And I think as a designer, we have the responsibility of designing with our user and not just for them. And so I think if you recruit a diverse base of users to test your products, or if you have a diverse talent to represent those people, then it's good for the business, it's good for representation, and it's good to make people feel like included in your design. And so I think design has such a powerful, positive impact on our society. And as we can see, currently there have been some like negative impacts when we exclude certain people.
Yeah, I completely agree. So about talking about like design roles, how can we open discussion in our workplace as designers about diversity, for example? Do you have a thought about it? Any suggestion, like how can we bring diversity into the conversation?
I can share one story. It's not like a suggestion though. So like my company is not super large. So we have around 100 people in the company, but we only have 3 designers. And we have a full team of engineer and product, but like with all male before. So that brings me awareness, like we, like design team as the whole product engineer, we're the only team have a female. So I realized that one, but at the beginning, I'm a little bit afraid to point it out because nobody else is pointing it out. But like as the end of the story is I write an email to our CEO, like to say, oh, next time when we start to recruit, when we're hiring, we need to have some women leadership, like all these kind of thing, and explain this and that, something I learned from the outside. So I just want to raise it up is it is hard like to literally write an email to our CEO, to our leadership as an individual contributor. And I have been with my company for 3 years, which is long. And I do have that confidence now, but I still encourage everyone, like even though you are there, like I think diversity is a big enough topic on current like society. So all the leadership will acknowledge that. They just don't know sometimes. They're busy. Like they don't know like this is a thing and they didn't pay attention to that. Sometimes like usually companies HR and recruiter will point it out, but if you don't have that resource, like as an individual, I really encourage to point it out. Most of the time you will get the support from the leadership.
Thank you, Kelly. I think that's actually really it takes some guts to actually step up and make people aware. And I too, I don't stay silent. Sometimes I do find that it helps to not necessarily pull it out of the context and call it diversity, but but also ask for the behavior that you would like to see. So making sure that there is some kind of feedback loop within your team and a level of psychological safety for people to actually discuss what is bothering them. Because one of the risks that I've experienced myself of actually calling it diversity and making it a topic, I mean, it can work. I've seen it work, but I've also seen companies where you get this kind of token activity, like, oh yeah, we're going to work on a diversity program, and still under the hood nothing changes. There's been one manager in the past, he literally had this book on his desk, Scoring with Women, and I'm like, okay, yeah, oh, okay. Perhaps we need to take a different route for that. Yeah. So, but making sure that you yourself are the example of behavior that you would like to see around you, and calling out other people. Be brave. Take the space that you feel you need. Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, but so wow, Kelly.
It's funny because, to be honest, diversity, it's in the corporate environment, it's a fancy word. They like to say, "Oh, I'm diverse.
Yeah.
I hire different people to work with me, to work with my clients." But only who's living with this experience knows the reality. It's important for us to provide a secure, a safe environment for them to talk, for them to share their ideas, and not blame just the leaders. It's not only the responsibility from the leader creating a safe and a diverse environment. People need to understand that their colleagues, the other people need to speak too. Sometimes it's difficult to make them understand that everybody needs to be heard. It can take time for giving achieving our goal or making up a decision, but it's important that everybody feel safe and comfortable sharing being who they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember about that meme, you know, like diversity board members that you can only see like white male people like on top, and then the rest like on the bottom, like a lot of people that they look different. For me, like I can really relate to that, because also like talking about like the title of this panel is like from inclusion illusion to authentic belonging. That's why, because as Teresa just said, a lot of people use diversity as a fancy word, like we're really diverse, but like what is diversity after all if one of these people don't feel included? But like from the outside, maybe it is. Like an example that I can share is that like one of the Italian companies that I worked, they were always like promoting and selling this to the clients, saying that we are very like multicultural company. But like by the end of the day, like at the end of the day, we were only speaking in Italian. I had to do the documentations, presentations in Italian, and I had to prove myself in Italian. And like the rest of the people that couldn't speak Italian, they were not chosen to do projects in general. So like, what is inclusion there? Like, where can we find inclusion there? And also, how can we bring discussion? Because sometimes when we start this kind of discussion saying like, I don't feel so well when you say in this way, or when you do an example that for me is racist, and then you seem like being the annoying girl that you know, like trying to have attention of everyone. So like
Oh, Mariana, I think that if there's one advice that I would like to give every woman here in general, is like, be the annoying girl. That's going to be your role anyway. You better own it and be proud of it and wear it as a badge of honor. Yeah, and that's actually how I got into this whole movement. Like, why don't I fit in? Why do I always feel like I'm the one causing the trouble, steering things up? It's something we need to do, right?
Yes, we need to show up. We need to tell the problems. We need to tell when we are uncomfortable. It's okay with that. While we still keeping these dirty things under the carpet, nothing will ever change. So we need to talk about that.
Yes, and also, what about the importance of community, since we are all leaders of different communities? Like, what is the importance of our communities to bring diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, I would like to say that at Hexagon UX, our community is very important to us. We want to host, we host like non-traditional UX events that really cater to women and non-binary folks. So we have like events around like negotiation, balancing motherhood, and then we also try to pair with other organizations that share the same mission. So through our community, we really want to like tailor like our events and our connection through you know, having these like topics and discussions where we're able to like have this safe space to exchange ideas and inspire each other. So we really want to like host events that people feel really comfortable and can learn from each other.
Wow, that really resonates, Audrey. It's something that we also kind of pride ourselves on, like our safe space, the sense of incredible connection that we feel, even online. We've been online for 2 years now, and no, a year and a half. And still, we sometimes have these moments where it feels like you're literally next to each other because there's this huge sense of connection. And something that might sound perhaps a bit controversial is that we actually actively decided to also include men in all positions of our movement. And that was because we felt we are still really exclusive. Like by excluding men, we are kind of still grappling with the concept. And I'm really curious how you handle that in your communities. But we actually got comments from men like, hey, we've got a softer side and we've got doubts and we've got insecurities. We want our own group. So yeah, we're doing that. Planning to at least.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear because our Hexagon UX, like, yes, it's for women and non-binary folks, but we also invite allies to our events. We just have this like code of conduct that we ask people to follow. And as an ally, we just want to set the rules that we want you to listen, be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and to share, your resources with us. And I think, the community is for women and non-binary folks, but we don't want to just exclude, our allies.
Yeah, so I think like our past experience event, we usually have 80% of the ticket exclusive for the like women and binary, but we leave 5% for people who want to join and feel free. That's like we basically apply those on the ticket policy.
That's a great idea. I'm going to write that one down for sure.
I think the community has a superpower when you think about a strong group advocating for a cause. People realize that the cause is not very relevant and they will begin to understand the importance, or at least respect it, because somebody will scream that, oh, you are wrong, we need to move to change it, but it's happening. So when we get united, we get more strong, get stronger, and we'll be able to change things.
Amazing. I'm reading some questions here in the chat. Let me see. Kat said, designers are definitely are creating the culture. And plus one, Kelly, we can take a bigger stand for the values we cherish. And Anushka said, yes, design with the user, but also act on the output of insights. Lots of time, there isn't time or money to refine constantly to be more diverse. How do you see this? Like including other users, maybe people with disabilities?
I can talk a little bit about this because I do face the same problems in my company. So we are small, so we do have a limited budget all the time. When we do user testing, or like it's two parts. One is a workspace for recruiting. We do have a limited budget to hire more people. So a lot of time we don't have that luxury to really think about this. But one thing I did is, even though we don't have enough like women on the product and design, I do have like I create a Slack channel just within the whole company. Because a lot of time you have more people in the sales, you have more people in the customer service. In this case, like you don't share by the same title or the same team, but you still can bring a lot of voice together to share the motherhood, something like that. And for user testing wise, we also same, like we don't have a lot of luxury to do different stuff. But one suggestion like I can give is watch some YouTube on the for the disability. So good example, like if you watch like how blind people using iPhone, like you will learn how they really do the voiceover, all these kind of things. Even though you don't have like you don't have a budget for that, like you still can bring those as a topic when you're talking with a PM, like all these kind of things, and you have evidence, like this is how they do, and I would love to include that like in the next round. So just prepare yourself and do something on that.
Amazing tips, Kelly. Go ahead, Audrey.
Yeah, there's also like accessibility courses available for training, but there's also like plugins that you can use for like Sketch or Figma to check like the color contrast, your design. So there are resources out there to test your accessibility if you can't actually like test with those users.
I had an experience that I'd like to share with you. There was a time I was making an usability test with users on my store once, and I showed the prototype and asked them to do some tasks on the prototype. But when I gave the phone, that person said to me, "Oh, I can't, I won't be able to do that," and I didn't understand why. But then I understood that he couldn't read. They didn't know how to read, and it was really uncomfortable for me because I didn't realize that nowadays there are still people that can't read and didn't learn at all. We need to be inclusive for these things too. We need to understand people before ask them the things, or before testing them, before talking to them, understand who they are, and be more careful with that. Sometimes we are in a rush and didn't pay attention to these things, but the reality from others are not the same of ours, and it's important to understand that.
Great point. Yeah, and that kind of the sense of not realizing, I think that's such also an important aspect of our job, to make other people aware of the things that we are not realizing. And social bias and social diversity is something that's actually quite often overlooked. I work a lot for financial institutions like banks and insurances, and language is my design tool. So I've got the luxury of, you know, basically choosing words, and I don't have to do a lot of visual design. But you know, the sense that we're not only there for the rich clients that have a lot of money and want to save, we're also there for people who are in financial trouble because of COVID or a life event. How do we cater for those? How do we talk as a company with those people? How do we make sure that we're there for them too? That's a very interesting one. Another part of diversity in my area of design is very much about how do we make sure that, for instance, if we build a voice assistant, that we don't necessarily go for the default white female voice and make her do all these things, you know, people ordering her about. It actually kind of propagates an image of womanhood that might not be the most positive or empowering one. There's one sentence that's kind of etched in my mind that I always try to use when people say, "Oh, we don't have time or money for including people with disabilities." And I think it's David Dame who mentioned this from Microsoft. And he says disability is not a personal attribute. It's context dependent. And it's a mismatched human condition. So if we make sure that we're aware of the conditions, it may take us the same amount of time and money to take those contexts into account as it does, you know, leaving them out. Because eventually designing for context, it profits everyone. It's not a personal thing. I mean, if you've got your hands full, then a voice interface also works a lot better than having to press a button. And when you talk to people like that, I mean, it's not, of course, the golden egg, but most of the time it will kind of dawn on them like, oh, yeah, I didn't realize that you could see it like that too. Yeah, yes, my 2 cents.
Amazing.
Mentioning that, just want to say Microsoft have a really good tool for accessibility. Yeah. You guys should check that.
Yeah, their inclusive design guidelines are amazing. There's also some feminist design guidelines, which are also quite interesting. Like if it's good for women, it's generally good for everybody.
Yeah, that's such a good point because I don't know if you all have heard about the curb cut effect, but on sidewalks there's that cut that was originally designed for people with in wheelchairs. But as you can see, the curb cuts help everyone. It helps women with strollers, runners, travelers wheeling luggage. So when we design for the extremes, it benefits everyone. So yeah, that's a good point about how this design can really benefit all society and not just people with disabilities.
I would like to thank you all because our time, unfortunately, is almost finishing. I will spend hours. I would like to have like this conversation for hours now, but like we are almost done. I would like to do like a quick round among us, saying like, what are the 3 things that we could do right now to start and to increase diversity, being more inclusive, just like a positive aspect from this panel that people can learn and also have other
around diversity, which is focus on the graphic design, but it's very useful.
That's great. I also have some book titles. I'll put them in the Miro on inclusivity for conversational design. One of them is called The Smart Wife, which is how the female stereotype actually shaped the entire field of conversational AI. Like, why are all these subservient bots female and all the powerful ones, why are they male? And the other one is, of course, gosh, and now I lost the title. Never mind, I'll put it on the Miro. Can I do a shameless plug for Women in Conversational? We've got our first meetup, our live one, on October 20th in Leiden, probably. So reach out if you want to join and speak Dutch.
Thank you very much. I also would like to thank Rebecca Brooker that she couldn't join us. Like, she had a problem with her phone and firewall stuff that she couldn't join to this platform and meeting us. But yeah, I'm really glad that we finally met. And for this conversation, like, I'm trying to write down all the books that you are putting on comments. Like, please try to do it so on Miro, so we have and we can read everyone. So in 2 minutes, we are going to join another amazing talk by Kat Velos that's gonna be here in this main stage. So thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Mariana, also for hosting this panel.
Thank you.
And thank you all, of course, for joining it. Well, it's getting dark here, as you can see. But let me turn on the lights. Yeah. Is Kat already in the room?
Here. Can you hear me, Kimberly?
Let's see. I don't see Kat yet.
In here.
Oh, yes, she is. Okay. Yeah, there you are. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so we have 1 minute for people to get a drink, and then I will introduce you, and then you can take the stage. So we're over half of Tokyo Wix already. Goes so fast. Working to this day for so long, and now we have only 3 sessions left. So you, Kat Velos, then we have the Ladies at UX global announcements and the closing. And what time is it now for you, Kat?
Right now it is 10:20 in California in the morning.
So the day just started for you.
Yes, yes. But I've been really enjoying the panel and the other talk I went to before that. It's really been lovely, and I'm excited to check out some of the other stuff that happened while I was sleeping.
Yeah. We will record the talks and also this talk, of course, and we will put it on the channel. So while you're sleeping, you can still look at the talks later on. Well, I see it's time, so I will introduce you. Well, everyone, this is Kat. Kat is a user experience designer, speaker, and connection coach. She's author of the book We Should Get Together, and connect from afar. So 2 books. Oh, nice. So this is really the connect part, of course. We're done with the reflecting part, and we are now going to the connect part of the conference. Her work crosses disciplines, but is almost always focused on helping others thrive by having more creative and connected lives. Bring intention to how you want people to connect. Wow. Nice quote. Well, take it away, Kat.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Kimberly. And thanks to Kimberly and Anushka and everyone at TalkUX for inviting me to be here with you all
I don't
today.
hear you. I'm not sure if I'm the only one.
Uh-oh, hold on.
Because I'm sometimes having issues with my speakers. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you now. Maybe it was me. Yeah. Yes, you can go. I hear you.
Can everyone mute their audio,
Can anyone type in the chat if you can hear me?
Thank you. Yes, we can hear you, Kat. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I was like talking the whole time. I thought you could hear me. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you for to Anushka and Kimberly and everybody for inviting me to be here with you at TalkUX. This has been a really beautiful conference, the part I've gotten to see so far, and I hope that everyone else is walking away feeling energized and inspired like I am. And I also have to say, on a personal level, I'm really glad to be here with you all, because as a UX designer who also wrote a book about improving the UX of adult friendship, this is like the perfect blend of all the things I care about. And this like rarely gets to happen, that it's this exact, like the Venn diagram has like melded into one circle in this moment. And it's really special to get to be here with you, sharing about this other thing that I care about just as much in my work as UX, is thinking about adult friendship and human connection. So I just want to say really warm welcome on that. I do have some slides, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. While I'm getting that set up, I want to encourage everybody to feel free to use the chat today. I really like a good conversation. I really like to know, what is resonating with folks and what feels like an aha, or you can relate to it, or it gives you something to think about. I really love to hear and see how it's resonating. So feel free to use the chat. It won't distract me at all. And if you even have questions that you might want me to touch on at the end, you can add those in. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this talk today about, recognition over recall, keeping your designer friends. We've all had the experience of going to a conference and meeting cool people or people that we admire or appreciate their work. And then afterwards, they just kind of disappear back into the ether of the world. And I'm going to open up with a story from my own life, from a conference that I went to back in 2006, where I met a bunch of other creative, volunteering-minded women for the first time. And this was the conference where I found my best friends. One of the women that I met there, it was our first time meeting. We had like emailed a bit. We were going to be co-facilitating a workshop together about zine making. And so we met, we had like planned a little bit, over email, and then met in person for the first time, and then ran this workshop. And the other woman that I had met there for the first time, we were in a homestay together, because the conference organizers, instead of like having people figure out hotels or something, it was really cool. They actually had people who lived in that city offer up a space to sleep. And so me and this other woman were crashing with this other homestay person, and I had never met her before. But since then, these two women have become my closest female friends in the world. Obviously, this was before COVID, so the option to lead face-to-face workshops and the option to stay in a stranger's home with other strangers is pretty far away from where we are right now in the pandemic. But it wasn't really those environmental conditions that determined the trajectory of our friendship. It wasn't that we were at an in-person conference. It wasn't that we did this homestay. The thing that actually made the difference and made our friendships take root over the next 15 years was what we did after that moment. So we weren't just cool acquaintances. Oh, I really appreciate, your artwork or your perspective on things. But it was actually like, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now that that conference is over? And was came to life in the ways that we kept our communication open and we kept our ways of staying in touch really flexible. And it also meant overcoming one of the biggest challenges that we face right now, which is distance and not having the chance to be face to face. The woman that I co-led the zine making workshop with actually lived in another country. And so we couldn't see each other face to face after that conference, but we had enough things in common, from our desire to be creative and crafty and make paper crafts. And we were also both really into snail mail, like letters and postcards and things like that. And so we decided to be pen pals, and we traded letters for over a decade. And then after 10 years of long distance friendship, we actually ended up living in the same city. We've lived in the same city now for about 5 years. And the other woman, we did live in the same city at the time. We just didn't know, where each other were. But then a couple years after that conference, we ended up becoming neighbors. And then when she had to move, she stayed on the same block. And when I had to move, we just didn't want to leave because it was so wonderful to be near each other when we could. But getting closer ultimately came out of three things. So the first was keeping that line of communication open and staying in touch. The second was really investing in this mutual curiosity about each other, to learn more about each other throughout all the facets of life. And the third was our dedication to deepening the friendship and taking it beyond something that was just going to be surface level. And so those three things really transformed this chance meeting at like a very short weekend conference into what have been some of the longest friendships of my life, and what I hope are going to be friendships that last the rest of my life. And that is also what I hope for all of you who are here today. I invite you to share in the chat right now, what is the